Senate.
And we are live. I still do not have an official intro. I only remember it like once the thing starts. All right. Tribe talking on a Tuesday with Miriam and my guest Holly Bass. I'm so excited to see you.
I know.
And I'm excited to talk to you and see what's going on. So Holly is one of the first people I ever met in DC, or in Maryland, technically Silver Spring, but one of the first people I ever met when I moved there. And I've been following your work for whatever that decade and some change was. A profound writer, artist in general, but also administrator, just perfect balance of left and right brain. And I just love everything about you. But I'm not going to go and continue running my mouth about you. I want you to give us your 30-second commercial. Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it, darling?
I'm Holly Bass. I am an artist, multidisciplinary artist, performance artist, writer, director, educator. I feel like that's a really important part of who I am. And why I do what I do, I always think about that Nina Simone quote where she says, I feel compelled to compel them to love this blackness, this black power, this
Ooh.
black beauty. I'm paraphrasing wildly, but there's a
Yeah,
beautiful
yes.
Simone quote. And so I feel like that's my purpose here is to help create, maintain, and sustain Black creative space.
I think that's, first of all, yeah, that is all of who you, that's some of who you are. A snippet, huh? I think that that's really interesting, especially because all of the spaces that I've worked with you in were really white.
But that's part of that's part
But
of the
I feel like
process.
that's part of the process, right?
Right.
So
Like going
tell us
into
about that.
white space and making space for Black stories to be heard. I feel like
Right.
that is probably, I'm like the ambassador. I'm that alt Black chick who can, like, you know,
Wait,
like
did you say alt, A-L-T, or off?
ALT,
Oh, okay. I was about to say,
ALT.
wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Because you black.
It's like I can navigate those spaces very well. That's been my entire life, is being like the first or the only, and then like learning how to make community in any space because I grew up doing it in spaces that weren't designed for me per se.
No. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Yeah. Now for me, I've always been in the white spaces. So I like forced myself to create black only spaces. But I appreciate what you're doing. And one of the things I said I wanted to talk to you about was one of the shows that you brought me in for, the movement. We just figured out, or you just reminded me of the name, the movement. And it was a show about child sex trafficking, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, this is the first time I've said this to you. I will tell you, in the process, I had no idea what we were doing. Right?
Yeah.
Was completely just like, and I might have had a conversation with like one other person and was just like, she finna have me on stage doing something. It's gonna be popping, right? It's gonna be lit. I don't know what I'm gonna do or what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it, whatever, right? Just because I felt like you knew what you were trying to get done.
Sure.
And there was a moment in that show. I mean, because once we got on stage, I was like, "Oh, this is it. She turning it out. This is what's going on. You wrapping yourself in the cord, and all this other stuff was going on." And I was like, "Oh, she got it. She got it. This is it." There was a moment that I don't think we talked about before the show, when I was delivering my monologue, and we were talking about how people are exploiting sex trafficking by putting it in magazines, and the way that they show these images, and how they're disregarding the actual victims, and it was very pointed towards this white capitalist society, right? And the lights came on. I have never been in a performance where on stage, a scripted performance where the lights come on and I can see the audience.
Oh.
Did you know that was going to happen? Do you remember that
Probably.
happening?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you do. You, of course you do. Of course you do.
that's kind of my jam to like,
Yeah. Listen, and I was sitting there talking all this shit, and I'm reading, I'm doing the line, and I was like, I'm watching these people respond to this work viscerally, like shaking and moving in their seats and uncomfortable. And I was like, Holly did this. Holly
Mhm.
knew what she was doing. This is exactly what we came here for. And I have like put that into not necessarily that exact tactic, that exact strategy, but I have decided since then, like, no, say the thing exactly as it is to the people who you mean to say it to.
Mhm.
And I learned that from you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
tell me about things like that. Like when you process your work, how do you come up with these things?
So, and that whole piece was crazy. I mean, I was originally designing it with a woman named Tina Front, who was a
Mhm.
survivor, Black woman running
Mhm.
her own nonprofit. And we all know what happens when Black women run a nonprofit, and then like the big white nonprofit wants to hire the little Black run nonprofit to do the work that they can't do, but they got all the grant money. It was
Yeah.
very much so that situation. And then Tina couldn't do the show at the last minute because she was actually in court helping a young woman. So I can't, I couldn't be like, well, you need to be in my dance piece at
Right.
God, and
You
like,
said yes to this.
but it was so amazing. Like I called you the day before and you were like, yes, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And you were fantastic. You were
Oh, thank you.
extraordinary. Like, oh my God, that's one of the more intense, show must go on moments. But I think what you're talking about, for me, something that I really like to play with is disarming an audience and then making them uncomfortable, sort of giving them this mirror where they're suddenly able to go, oh wait, I'm part of this. I'm complicit. 'Cause I
Mhm.
think it's very easy, especially for like white liberals, and so-called progressives to be like, well, I'm one of the good ones. And
Mhm.
even for folks of color, like, well, we're the good ones. We're on the right side of history. We're out in the streets. But there's always a place where there's a little bit of complicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to bring that out.
I love that you it's like you dismantle the echo chamber, you know,
Mm,
and I appreciate that. And I wish more people did. I think we get really comfortable in this like well, I'm going to talk to people who agree with me.
right.
I'm going to talk to people who relate to me. And then the minute that it's like no, that's not, I don't agree. It's like cancel.
Right.
But I appreciate that this is your method.
Mhm.
Thanks. Yeah, girl. Oh, because and then there was another time you brought me in and introduced me to Kokai. I
Kokai.
mess Kokai. I always have to say his name twice before I get it right, and I make my him and his wife, and I will do it. Like I actually went maybe like months without ever saying her name, and was like in conversation, and was like, I just don't want to mess it up,
Because the way it's spelled and the way it sounds.
or completely,
Yeah.
and you don't want
So, right. Sahat and Kokai. Like I'm
to.
one of those people, I see a word in my head. And so if it's not phonetic, then it's, yeah, I
Yeah,
get it. It makes sense.
I actually gave her an award at like one of my at Tribe Fest. Remember you with that Tribe Fest, and do you know I didn't say that woman's name up until because I was scared to mess it up. Anyway, I did not want to mess this woman's name up because she's so beautiful and wonderful. Anyway, what I was gonna say was you had us go to this community works. Was it community works? No. Um
Oh, the National Coalition, the Housing Coalition.
Housing, yeah, housing works.
Yeah.
And we did the community poem.
Yep.
Explain what a community poem is, or the way that you used community poem.
So, I mean, there are lots of different ways you can do a
Mhm.
community poem. And, the sort of maybe more fancy term is exquisite corpse
Mhm.
writing where there's a line. somebody adds a line and they fold the page, so you can only see one line at a time. So you're only responding to one train of thought. You're not getting the whole thread. So the poem will sometimes take these interesting zigs and zags. And we did that at this conference, and we, prompted people about their idea of home. So they were already primed for it. And then I think we took all the poems from the different tables and spliced them together because I did want it to have a nice ending. I was like, because sometimes like you do a community poem and then someone comes out of left field at the end. I'm like,
and then the dog went home.
Right. So you gotta get your aesthetics together.
Yeah.
But this idea of making something collaborative, pulling everyone's voices in the room into one final creative product, which is something I love. We used to do it at, Busboys and Poets at the open mic. Like you're doing an open mic, but you're passing around this clipboard, and then you read it at the end, and it's fantastic. You never know what you're gonna get.
I waited tables at Busboys. I hated poetry night. Y'all ain't that was we were in there the longest, sweating. They make no money on poetry nights at Busboys. That was my first job in DC, Busboys and Poets.
Wow.
Full circle. I don't regret a minute of it. All right. Someone just posed, I think the problem with Black women I don't know how I feel about the way this started. Entirely is they don't try to grab their identity, but they always imitate white women. Get back to your roots, your nature, because you might be on the wrong show.
Yeah, let's skip
you. You might be on the wrong show. I don't know if I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna let that live. I'm gonna come back to you.
Yeah.
Never. So, all right. So I have 2 games to play with you.
Let's play games.
Let's play a game. Right? I don't have any. One of these days, somebody's gonna be like, Miriam, you know what? I'm tired of you over here singing your own intro music. I'm finna give you something. All right. I'm waiting on that day. All right. This is what we are calling. Oh, and I have actually.
You want me to make little like.
Yeah, this is the Jeopardy one. This is how do you feel? Poor baby, poor LeVar Burton. We gassed him up so big talking about put that baby on that show, and they knew that they were about to hire they hired in-house the executive director to run it to do.
Oh.
We had him feeling we gotta do better. He needs his own show. We gotta give him his own thing. Stop trying to recreate other people's stuff. All right, here we go. So the way this works is I'm going to read you a definition of a term, and you are going to tell me what that term is, right? Because language is important. You're a writer. I think you understand that.
Okay.
And this is a show about advocacy. And since we're living in this world of advocacy, we should all understand the terms. Yes?
Okay.
All right.
I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard.
All right. First one. Treatment of I'm starting easy. Treatment of an individual or group based on their actual or perceived membership in a social category, usually used to describe unjust or prejudicial treatment on the grounds of race, age, sex, gender, ability, socioeconomic class, immigration status, national origin, or religion. What did I just say?
There's probably a simpler word. Okay.
Close. The act of, remember the first word is treatment.
Discrimination.
Boom. Boom. There's no prize. We're just gonna. Okay. All right. Next one. It's gonna get we're getting a little bit more difficult as it goes. All right.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I don't know if it actually gets more difficult as it goes. I'm just going to read. All right. A concept based on a misunderstanding of what racism is, often used to accuse and attack efforts made to rectify systemic injustices. Every individual can be prejudiced and biased at one time or another about various people and behaviors, but racism is based on power and systemic oppression. Even though some people of color hold powerful positions, white people overwhelmingly hold the most systemic power. What concept ignores structural racism and permeates that? What concept ignores structural racism?
I have a bunch of words in my head, so
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. So I'm gonna read something else. Which permeates all dimensions of our society, routinely advantaging white people and disadvantaging people of color. It is deeply entrenched and in no danger of being dismantled or blank anytime soon.
white supremacy.
I feel like it's a symptom of white
Oh, it's
supremacy.
a symptom of white supremacy. White fragility. Does it have white in it?
It does not.
Okay. Is it prejudice? No. Is it
So again,
false
a
equivalence?
misunderstanding of what racism is. Black folk can't do it.
Reverse racism.
Do you believe that? I feel like, I don't believe in reverse racism. Do you
I
believe
don't believe in reverse racism.
Mel got it right, of course.
People who believe in reverse racism, racism is a word that doesn't have anything to do with power or systems. That's the only way you could use it that way. People who do that, they're talking about prejudice. We can be prejudiced, we can be biased, but by definition, I can't be racist or sexist.
Because I would need to be able to oppress you.
Right. Right.
You might feel oppressed by my attitude, but that don't mean it's real.
No.
Feelings ain't facts, family.
Exactly. Now, yes. I can be homophobic as a cisgender heterosexual person, but even then, it's like, how much power do I, as a Black woman, actually have
over an entire identity of people?
Yeah.
I read something today. Somebody was asking, what is Black privilege? And I was like,
skin. The skin.
Honey, I mean, this may be a privilege.
This melanin.
This melanin.
Agelessness. I just turned 50, right?
I know, you're so stunning. And if I was not wrapped up, I hadn't seen my son in 2 months. And so I was just getting to see him when you had your birthday party, I would have come. That's the only reason I didn't get to go. But what I wanted to say about Black privilege.
Yes.
They were trying to say that inside of, now I will say that I have had some experiences as a Black woman that were offered to me that a lot of Black people have not had.
Sure.
Right. And I would think if we are talking about Black privilege encapsulated in Black community, I don't know if that's a real thing as much as it is just kind of this lofty idea that I had some access to things that this other Black person didn't have access to. But in the grand scheme of life, if a white person were to say, oh, you have Black privilege.
No, that's not a thing. It might be class privilege. There might be social status kind of privilege. You know what I mean? We're all intersectional, and individuals have privilege in certain areas. There's beauty privilege, or pretty privilege that some people have. I can't call it Black privilege.
When you get into rooms though, because I feel what is your social justice issue, right? Because I feel like people call you and you just kind of cover pretty much everything. They can call you for sex trafficking. They'll call you for housing stuff. They'll call you because, there's a problem at the youth detention center. You kind of are, show up into all of these very, very different places, right? But what is your personal, social justice issue? Or do you have one?
I don't think it's one issue. I really think what it is about opportunity and equality. And I think at the basis of everything, I'm very interested in education, right? Making sure that's when I work in the juvenile detention center, I don't do that work because I'm per se interested in trauma. I'm really interested in education and how the arts can be transformative, I think, in almost anyone's life. And I think those are the two things that drive my social justice work. And I would also add maybe community. This idea that if we're if we're whole, healthy, expressive human beings, and we're in community with other whole, healthy human beings, and we start to live in the world we want to live in.
Right.
And then we stop doing, like, I'm not going to cuss on the thing, messed up things. Like,
Oh,
I,
you was gonna say fucked up? Because we can say that.
okay. Like, I don't understand why public
Yeah.
schools budgets are tied to property taxes.
Right. You know, that stresses me.
Why is that a thing? Why is it still a thing? And then people are like, oh man, the schools are still so segregated. We thought we desegregated them, but we didn't. Well, you could do something about the property tax thing.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I'm like,
So how do you not get tired? Like when people are calling you, you know, I mean, because you know, I did playback, which is how we met, right?
right.
I did playback, right? And I have since evolved my use of the form in different ways or whatever. But you know, I had a period of time where I was like, oh, it's too much. There's too many stories. There's too many different issues. I need a break. It's too hard right now. How do you maneuver without, you know, what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt that way working in the juvenile detention center. Like, it just got to the point where, like, it was, it was like heartbreaking, you know, like,
You remember, I think did I call you about this? There was a boy in one of the classes you had me in. Okay.
yeah,
You know, I'm still pissed about that. For the audience, there was a young man um, who was in one of the classes. I taught for Holly's company, Holly Bass 360 at YSC, which is the Youth Services Center. And there was a young man, brilliant boy, who was in the program, was in there for truancy, I think. It was something very simple. It wasn't like he was like you know, he wasn't a criminal. He was a teenager. And I want to say after a year after I met him, they found him murdered in a abandoned apartment. Um, and you know, like 2 years before I worked for you with YSC, we had done a project through the Office of Planning called the Crossing the Streets Project. And the neighborhood, the community that he was found dead in, the kids in that community had complained, like the children, and I'm talking like 7-year-olds, like babies, complained about the cameras and stuff not working. And Office of Planning and the Office of Planning tag them at them if they've got one, promised to make those cameras work. And to do things in that community, and they did not do them. And after they found his body, they said they couldn't prove or say anything about who did it because the cameras still don't work. So that would have been 3 years. So I get, you know, to me, it's kind of like what you were just saying about like there's stuff, it's like nonsensical stuff,
yeah.
you know, because instead of putting working cameras, they just put fake ones. They, the effort, you know. So Mike, so you know, when things like that happen, like to me, that to me was a time where I had to, it was a time that had happened multiple times before with other children, other people, and I personally had to sit back from it. And I can only imagine with how many people look to you for because of your brilliance and the way that you approach your work, that you're in those situations a lot. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And I have pulled back a lot, I think. And at times, like even the beginning of this year, I had never been to Jamaica, and someone suggested that I go to St. Elizabeth, Treasure Beach. And I was like, well, I need to leave the country though. I was like, I literally felt like I need to leave the country if I am to stay whole and survive. Like, I can't be in this pandemic winter. And it was right after the insurrection. I had been thinking about it anyway, but I
Yeah.
was like, I need to peace out. So I went, like, I bought a one-way ticket. I was like, well, I rented out my apartment, and I was like, well, if it's terrible, I can always go, hang out with my parents or something like that. and I stayed for 5 months, and it was the best thing I've like one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and it was so restorative.
Yeah, I didn't think you were coming back.
A lot of people were like, "I guess she lives there now," but I
Yeah.
really wasn't trying to leave. I just needed to replenish in a deep way, and I couldn't do that. And I love DC, but I couldn't do it in the winter in the middle of a pandemic in isolation. So yeah, I left, and now I'm back, and I feel really good.
And ready. Are you ready? Do you feel ready or do you feel
I
good?
do. I feel ready. But I also feel like let's do less.
Let's streamline our efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this idea that, like, at least for me, it's not selfish to make sure that my life is joyful.
Right.
So I'm just like, I'm going to live joyously
Yeah.
and try to do good things at the same time. But I'm not going to focus so much on the giving and doing that I don't have enough joy for myself.
Right. I relate. I mean, hell, I got up and left. I'm, I moved to New Orleans. New Orleans isn't much better. I mean, we've got all kinds of shit going on down here too, right? But
It's a different energy, though.
you need sometimes you just need, like, I needed access to water,
Mm-hmm.
easy access to water that felt safe,
Yeah.
right? And I needed new friends. I had kind of got caught up in that government, DC, expendability nonsense. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not
I
making
do.
this up. Yeah. I needed new friends. And I miss the ones of you that were righteous, that didn't force me into those holes or those places. But I mean, y'all can come to New Orleans.
That's right. I can't wait to come to New Orleans. I love New Orleans.
I'll go half on a ticket. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's
I might just pop up and be like,
look,
hey,
come on.
here I
Look,
is.
look, because
Hi.
we Josiah and I are happy. And I think that that's something, I say this to everyone who's watching, anybody who watches this later, just like she just said, joy is necessary. Happiness is necessary, especially if you're working in advocacy. If you can't go home at the end of the day and feel some semblance of like peace and happiness and joy, you're no good to the people that you're supposed to be helping, because then you're going to become resentful.
Mm-hmm.
How you see those people on Facebook and Instagram, everything that they post is like cussing people out for not doing enough and da 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 da, and they're it's like, baby, take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, like, hug yourself, go get laid, drink a glass of wine, do something.
Something.
I mean, I'm not promoting. I mean, I said what I said. Do what you gotta do. All right.
Trying to get me in trouble with my mama. She
And
might.
it's like, right, your mama might stream this. My mama already. My
She's
mama
heard
already like,
things. I'm like, or really like, my cousin and my auntie will be like, "Did you see your daughter?"
Oh, my daddy texts me. I'm gonna bring my daddy on the show. Y'all gonna when Mr. Muhammad come on here, just wait. He's funny. He gonna talk about rolling joints with his knees and then gonna say he never did it. All right. The next game that I called you out, Mr. Muhammad. All right, the next game we're playing it. Well, I didn't finish this first game, but I feel like let me give you one more.
Okay.
Because I just think this is an absurd term,
Okay.
and this makes me mad every time. A term used to describe a time in which racial prejudice and discrimination no longer exist.
Oh, like post-race? Post-race?
How many times has somebody told you that we live in a post-racial society?
Yeah. President Obama got elected. We must live in a post-racial Please. I don't have time.
We can go to Cuba now.
That nonsense. You can go post-race yourself.
These definitions were offered by the National Education Association. I'll put a link for you guys if you want to look at the rest of the terms. It is what it is. All right. This, or that. Ow! All right. The people want to know. This came from Kat. Kat, Lil So. This came from Kat. Unicorn blood or genetics? What you got going on, fam?
I can't. I mean, there might be some...
Did you just present? Yes!
I'm going to go with genetics.
I was going to ask, where do you get unicorn blood if that was the answer? Because where does it come from? All right. Jaren says, Black women deserve all the joy and love, and I love it. How are you ladies taking care of yourself these days? What does self-care look like these days? I got answers. What you got?
Well, I love to go dancing. I was at Joss Sonic was spinning at the Dewdrop Inn, and I must have danced my feet off. And that just fills me with joy. And when I look at my other dance friends, I was just looking on Facebook, my friend John ZD in London, he's 52. He runs this beautiful breaking convention, but he got up there and was like doing windmills. And I'm like, see, if you keep dancing, you can keep dancing. Mm-hmm. So I now have a bunch of, B-boy and B-girl and contemporary and ballet dance friends and in their 40s and 50s, and we're still moving. And like, you just have to keep moving.
I love that. I'm not a good dancer, so I can't relate. I mean, I do dance. I like to bop, but most of my friends are actual dancers. Yeah. So
But even a bop is an important.
They be doing all kind of the most. Like Janice is in this little chat right here. I'm calling you out. They be doing all of the like popping and dipping and he's like, Miriam, ain't nobody, I can't do all of that. I can't do that. Don't do that to me. All right. To answer your question for me, Jaren, I take random road trips. I have late night phone calls. Well, not late night, early morning phone calls with handsome men. Man, only one. I'm not trying to get in trouble. They tell me how pretty I am. And Johnny's lying, talking about I dance. And I eat good food.
I do eat good food.
I eat good food, man. I find the best food. And I will search for food. Like I will drive for like, a meal. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. I flirt. I eat good. And I listen to blues music. I love the storytelling in blues music. It doesn't make me sad. All right. That was actually the next question. Funk or blues? We already know my answer.
Funk.
Okay. So like Betty Davis funk or like the Meters funk?
I'm just going to have to go with Betty Davis on principle.
Oh. Is that what we're doing now?
No, because she's just like a progenitor. You know what I mean? Like she's just like the style.
Oh, I'm finna get in trouble. You cannot call off. I'm just kidding. That wasn't it was a telemarketer. I'm joking.
Yeah, let's give it up for Betty Davis.
Betty Davis is lit. Like, well, let me tell you, I like her audacity. I liked her audacity and I liked her style. I don't know if she's my favorite funk singer.
Right.
As far as, you know what I'm saying? But I love everything she stood for and her story is dope. So
Exactly. That's exactly the same reasons.
All right. This one came from O. Did you see it already?
Read it to me.
Okay. Skating with Prince or performing spoken word with Amari Baraka.
So, okay. True story. I actually have performed spoken word with Amari Baraka. Like, and Max Roach, like at the backstage of the Apollo Theater, like.
You don't get to drop that sexy story like that.
I was like 21 or something. It was before I came to DC. And actually, that's how I knew how to hook up with the poetry scene in DC. W. Ellington Felton was there with this guy, Mark. And it was just backstage afternoon. I think Ross Baraka was campaigning, and he's like, my dad's gonna do poetry and Max Roach is gonna drum, and the young poets, you all can be the opening act. So that has actually happened in real life. But in a fantasy, this or that, roller skating with Prince, like, oh my God.
I
Yes.
kind of
I love
thought
Prince.
both of those would be fantasy, and I'm so excited that they're not. If your ass had told me you went roller skating with Prince, though, I'd have turned this call thing off. I'd have been like, we're done. We're
Yeah,
conversation
I've
over.
been like, close the laptop.
Climax. We've hit the climax. There's nowhere to go from here.
No, I've
Oh,
never
that's so cool.
met Prince in person. The closest that it's just been like, you know, seeing him on the stage.
You lit. You lit. All right, next question. Ornate decor or minimalism?
Minimalism.
I knew the answer to that. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Really?
I mean, it's close, but I like to get away and be on the ocean.
Well, you did just say you spent 5 months in Jamaica.
Yeah. I sort of like, I do like a vacation staycation, because then I was just living in Jamaica. Like, it wasn't like I was running around. I didn't go to Kingston. It was still COVID, you know what I mean? So we would literally just like drink rum and play dominoes every night, which you think is like kind of boring and what you do when you live somewhere.
Yeah.
We were doing things. So it's like I go to a place and then I live there. Like, I'll go to Detroit and I'll be there, you know, doing my art project or whatever, but then I'm just living. So I'm just doing normal things, not like vacation or tourist things or exciting things.
Yeah, I do that. I feel like that's my thing. So don't call me with an itinerary and ask me if we're going to be like, nah, y'all can. That's also probably why I don't travel with nobody. They get tired of me. But I relate. But I also feel like when you exist like that around the world, it also supports you going into spaces knowing that you belong wherever you go. It becomes part of, like, you know, your natural thing. Yeah. If I can go to the UK and just live like I live here, and I can go to Senegal and all these different places, I mean, I could walk into a coffee shop. You can't tell me shit.
Yeah.
I belong here. I belong everywhere I go. I think that that's part of why I wish more people would travel.
I belong everywhere I go. I love that. Also, my favorite thing when I travel, honestly, is just to go grocery shopping. Grocery stores are so interesting internationally. And so I'm like, what's going to be in this grocery store? That's what I do. I just go to.
I was in Senegal for Thanksgiving. I think it was 2017. And I was like, I'm going to make a Thanksgiving dinner. They don't got none of the stuff we got. You know how hard it was? We went to so many markets and grocery stores. I was like.
So did you make like a chicken? Or
I did do chickens. I did okra and tomato stew.
Okay.
I was able to do macaroni and cheese, but it was like different, you know. Sweet yam. But they didn't have they don't have like sweet potato. You know, they got white yams.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find sugar. They only had like this like vanilla, sugary vanilla stuff. Everything came out kind of popping though. Like, I was kind of popping. I'll send you pictures. It was kind of, except for they were like, why did you cook so much food? Like, how embarrassing to be so, you know, I was like, you're right. But then we had a fight because I was trying to feed everybody. I was like, well, since we made so much food, let's feed the staff where we were staying. And they were like, you don't feed the staff. And I was like, but they're going to eat tonight. You don't get to be this way. Moving on. I have issues with stuff like that. Like, things that don't make sense.
Right.
How you going to sit here and talk about, well, don't waste, how you cooking so much food? We're poor. People are poor. And then you don't want to feed the people. Art museum or history museum?
Art museum.
Every time.
I mean, it's a choice, right? Like, it's your top choice. It's not
okay. Right. I'm not gonna change the rules of the game. All right. Car or bike? Oh wait, other people ask questions. Hold on 1 second. Oh, you're watching from St. Louis. That was the same person who told us that Black women need to pay more attention to themselves is watching from Senegal. Mel would call you an ornate minimalist.
I love it. It's so accurate.
And she also said, "What a Holly Bass answer!" My God, of course, about the
Mary
about
Brock.
Morocco, because absolutely. Jaron says mango or papaya. Now, weren't you just on a hunt for papaya?
I was, but I don't like the papaya in the United States. But I'm gonna say a mango wins, like a good mango, like the
Yeah.
best mango and the best papaya. I'm gonna go with mango.
Okay. List of favorite places to eat in DC, please.
So many. How much? We don't have time. But okay, I'll name a few things. I really love Black-owned cafe called Highlands. It's
Mm.
just like good food. I
Mm.
also like my fancy bougie. So like one of my birthday dinners, I went to Bresca on
Oh.
14th Street. They have this really
Mm.
amazing aged duck. Um, yeah. And I love tacos, Taqueria Habanero.
Mm.
Um, yeah. That's three. I could keep going. And then we could do by categories like
Yeah.
drink, Asian, I'd be like, well, Bon Siam, although they moved, like, so they're no longer on 14th, which is a drag. But I remember biking there before a storm was coming in, so I could get these little coconut
Oh.
pancake things, and they have this really good frozen lychee drink. That's the kind of person I am. I will like leave before
Mm.
a rainstorm so I can get the food that I want and bring it back to my house.
Yeah, I relate so hard.
Because they
So
don't
hard.
deliver
I'm sitting here
anymore.
like, oh, I didn't have that drink when I was there. I'm gonna go back next quarter. Best drinks for me would be Oyamel. They make some damn
Yeah.
good drinks at Oyamel.
Yeah.
And they got good tacos.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, there's this little place in on 12th Street
Mhm.
in uh Brookland. It's a little
Mhm.
Ethiopian place called Ascala.
Oh, I've never been there.
Oh, it's so good. And she took really good care of me when I was pregnant. She used to feed me good and all kind of stuff.
Oh, I
Um,
need to check
they've got,
that out.
yeah, it's right at 12th and yeah, it's whatever, you know how you can park, where the
Mhm.
parking lot is for the metro?
Yeah.
The street that you come out on,
Yeah.
if you just go up to 12th, it's right
Right.
there.
Okay. There's that little strip of
I
places.
want to say it's 12th and Otis or something like that. That's
My
really
favorite pizza in DC is in Brooklyn. It's called Meno Male. Meno Male.
Is that the place where they have the like a
Molto
little sneaky
Italiano.
they have the little bay window with the little is that the same place? Because
No, I
there's a
think you're talking about this cute, like kind of new American Frenchy place. Meno
my
Male. It does have a window, but I don't think it's a bay window.
oh, my favorite pizza place would be that place in Tacoma Park on Carroll. They have the espresso ice cream, the espresso gelato, the house made espresso gelato.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh my god, it's so good. Oh. And they use all like they used to use only farmers market produce
Oh, that
because
sounds
they have the
good though.
co-op in Tacoma Park.
Right. Hmm.
Somebody, if you know the name of that place, put it down here because I can't remember the name, but it's so good. I'll look it up and put it in the comments or whatever. All right, back to my sheet, darling. Nobody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Shout out to Highlands. Okay, we got people. All right. Rich and famous or rich and famous or rich and unknown.
Rich and unknown.
I kind of figured you'd say that.
Yeah. Because then you could like go anywhere and do anything and like, you know,
Yeah, to talk to people.
right. Because I'm going to be a main character wherever I go. They don't actually need to be famous. Like I think about like, people I know that became like movie star famous, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
can't even go in a coffee shop. Like,
Mhm.
how does that work? So I'd much rather be,
Yeah, it's low-key boring. Celebrity seems boring to me. Like
yeah,
you can't enjoy any of the things that you have access to.
right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yay. All right. This is going to segue into me asking you another question about something that I saw you talking about on somebody else's show. Um, no competition. Performing arts or performance art?
Performance art.
Okay, now you got to explain to people what's the difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the performing arts, which I also love, would be your music, your theater, your dance, your poetry. Performance art is more in the realm of the visual art world. It tends to be conceptual. It's often body based, often very abstract. And this is my favorite thing to say about performance art. A lot of times when you describe performance art, it sounds super lame, but when you see it, it's incredibly powerful. So I'll give you an example, right? The most famous performance artist known in the States and Europe is Marina Abramović.
Okay.
And her most famous piece, what did she do? She sat at a table and looked at people. That sounds like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She sat in a chair at a table, and then eventually they moved the table. So she sat in a chair and she looked at people. But when you see it, you see like so many people just burst into tears the moment she looked at them. So there's something about performance art and like the realness and intensity of it that I think can take us to different layers within ourselves that the performing arts don't always do in the same way. I think the performing arts are often entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they can be transcendent, but for me, performance art is like, my jam. Plus, I like weird experimental.
So for you, like what was that thing that you did at the DC Cultural Arts where you had the sticks poking into you?
Yeah.
The first time I saw that image, I was like, what is Holly doing? But then I was like, what is Holly doing? Like I asked myself, like in so many different ways, like, what? And how long did she do that? Like your stamina for these projects, girl.
Yeah.
Because how
That
long
was a Sherman Fleming performance. That one was relatively short. I think it was 45 minutes to an hour. And it's his pieces, that piece in particular was all about like sort of balance and like sort of holding the weight of something and then understanding that tension. So as more pieces got added, I had to be very careful. Even my breathing could shift things, and I'm trying to hold all the pieces together. But there was this wonderful moment, this transcendent moment where I felt like a living cathedral, and it felt like I could stay there forever and that everything was unified. But then I actually got worried. I was like, oh, are you spacing out? Are you just going to like zone out and maybe like, I don't know, fall asleep or something? Not fall asleep, but it really just felt like,
out of it.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe I need to be more conscious and stay here. But there was even moments where I couldn't feel the wood on my skin.
So for people who didn't see this, and I'll also post I think I only have access to images of the final. I don't think that I saw, because I don't think I knew that it was, I thought they set you up, you were standing there, and then they put these pieces of wood to you, and then you just had to stand there and hold this fixture together. I didn't know part of the performance was them adding the different pieces of wood. That's
yeah.
great.
So that was in collaboration with Wilmer Wilson. So he was actually measuring the wood and cutting it and fitting it.
As
so
he
it was this, yeah. So it was this accumulation of pieces. It was
Do you
really
have a video of that? Do you have
yeah, there's a video. And then, oh, my favorite moment, Miriam, I knew it was going to all fall. Like one piece fell and I was like, it's all going to fall. So I'm just going to go forward.
Yeah.
And I stepped forward and the entire audience went, they drew back and they gasped. Like,
yeah, they were nervous. Like they're probably thinking all the same things you were thinking.
But there was something like, it seemed weird to them that I could leave and move forward and be like a human. Like, it was so interesting. It was real cool.
I've never put my body through anything like that. I'm not volunteering. I'm just saying that.
Well, and so Sherman.
So that's why I'm so mesmerized by, because this is something like, even you just did this show in, was it New York?
in New York in
You did
October.
7 hours, right? 7 or 9?
12, no, 12,
12.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No bathroom
12
breaks,
hours
no
of
food,
nonstop
dancing.
dancing
Yeah.
in a little
Little tiny
box.
window box.
Oh my God. In heels.
Yes, that's actually the hard part. Because honestly, if I was in like tennis shoes, I feel like
Nothing.
it's nothing. But the heels, they start to hurt like 2, 3 hours in. Then
Now
it's just
explain
like,
explain that. Now I do know that your history with the booty balls. I
right.
mentioned in a post that we were going to discuss the booty balls, right? So tell me about the booty balls, what they are, and why you used them in that performance.
Yeah. So they have
Now,
a lot
oh
of
wait,
different.
would you consider that performance art?
Yes, I
I'm
would.
gonna link that video so you guys get a better idea. Okay.
And it kind of treads performance art and performing art,
Mm-hmm.
actually. And I kind of play with that because I do very like, traditional, almost like tap or swing jazz type movements and like depending on the song. And so it kind of blurs the line. But the booty balls started as like a thought experiment where I was like, remember kids have those like little hippity hop. You might be too young. It's like
Ooh, don't do me. Don't do me. I'm
it was like
grown.
a big, like a physio ball with a handle, and you could hop on it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, what if
We
you
had
had
those at
something like
school.
that attached to your body and you could just like bounce back and like float into space? So then it didn't start first necessarily with the Sarah Bartman and the video vixens. That kind of came later. The first idea was more like space aliens, like black women of the future with this like jetpack booty pack. You could be like,
I need that.
and you could just like be like, Pew, I'll be in New Orleans in 20 minutes.
Ooh, my booty took me there. There
Yeah.
are a lot of people in the world who can you say that quote and it means something completely different. My booty got me here. All right, keep going.
The power of the booty. So it's sticking.
I don't have that. Keep going.
So then it was also about like people artificially inflating their booties, which is,
Mm-hmm.
before the BBLs, it was just the injections and the silicone. And so I was like, looking at all these hip hop videos and it was like, this is outrageous. Like this isn't even, you know, it's not human anymore. It's uh like not cyborg, but you
Kind
like
of.
modified. So that's where the golden booty ball came in, like this most extravagant, eye-catching, alluring. You
Mm-hmm.
can't take your eyes off it, but also making people look at it and think about it, and bringing in the story of South African woman Sarah Bartman, who was known as Venus Hottentot, and she was Nicki Minaj before, a century
Mm-hmm.
before Nicki Minaj.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also that she was an artist, that she wasn't just a circus sideshow, but she was literally on stage giving performances, singing and dancing, and like King George of England came to see her perform. Like her poster was everywhere.
I might have
So
to tell you that I didn't know that. I
yeah,
didn't know that
a
part.
lot of people
I thought
didn't know
she
that. So I wanted to kind of
was.
like reclaim that element of her story and put it in this long legacy of Black female performers.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of glamour and labor and exhaustion
Mm-hmm.
and giving everything and not getting in return. So that's part of where it comes from.
That's I didn't know all the layers. I didn't know all the layers, but I appreciate that. I know um, the whole thing about injections. Like, I mean, when I was living in New York, I was part of the ballroom scene, and I was introduced to. Brandon said he didn't know she was an artist either. People never say that about her. I agree, Brandon. I didn't know that either. Hey, Brandon, what's up, B Dub? But I also didn't know that. But even like with that whole, like, I remember there was a huge issue with people doing the black market injections and like dying, like just it was terrifying. um I don't even know what they were putting in themselves. It was like literal like yeah, so
Fix a flat, like
oh, God.
honestly, there were people
Yeah,
who were
I mean
being injected with
anything to
fix a
make it
flat.
big. Yeah, pockets of things, um and there was a huge issue, I remember, where they were trying to get the doctors, like they were like, whoever is doing these injections, we need to arrest them and make, you know, like it's a thing. And there was, because the people were consensual in most cases, there were no ramifications against, you know, with the people, against the people who were actually doing the work, doing the body adjustments, which is I mean, it's just kind of like how we do things, the law. You know what I'm saying? The law. So we're winding down. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, I will say the hour does seem to move fast.
Oh my God, it does. I knew it though. I was like, how are we going to cover all these topics and games and questions in an hour?
The hour does
seem to digressions.
The hour does. The hour does seem to move fast. Yes, this is true. But I want to hear what you got going on. What's coming up? I mean, you know, we didn't talk about like the fact that you're the national director of Turnaround Arts at the Kennedy Center. But you know, you've got your posh position now, darling. How are they treating you over there? Are they treating you good?
They're treating me really well. They're treating me really well. And I have some lovely colleagues, and we're just trying to do the work. But it's not as heartbreaking, I think, to be in the posh position, but it's maybe a little more frustrating because you're not direct and you're just like, you know, but then I have conversations with folks who are on the ground doing the work, and it's like, okay, like the kids are getting musical theater licenses and instruments and art supplies. And it's like, yeah.
You're the resource. That's a shift, huh?
It's a big shift. A big shift.
To go from, you know, needing the resources and like trying to like exist in spaces where resources are scarce to being the resource. That's huge. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Do you have a goal for that? Like, do you have like something you want to see through your work in that space?
I want to see that. So the program, I just joined 3 years ago, and basically half of that has been in pandemic.
Right.
So I had one normal year of my job, and the rest of it's been like triage and crisis management. But I really feel like this is what I said at our last. We had a virtual retreat in June. And I was like, my goal is that these students that have been part of Turnaround Arts, you know, so we now have students who are in high school and college, and some of them presented at our conference. It's like that one of them takes over, that I can start cultivating the leadership. Like I'm already like, who's next?
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. Do you know how exciting that is? I am sick of people existing in this idea of immortality, like that they can't tap the next person. Like tap your success, like tap, create the team of folks who are going to allow you to rest before you take your final rest, right? Like I'm trying to retire. You know, I might get lucky enough to have a grandkid one day. You know what I mean? I might want to play with that kid at some point in time and not be stuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all got to come take this off my back.
Yep.
So I appreciate that you said that.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear her? Type in the comments if you heard that. Tap the folk who gonna come in next. Matter of fact, just type tap. Somebody better type tap. All right, no. Okay, so you got the Kennedy Center. You are now the plug, at least for these young people, which is really beautiful. It's beautiful, Holly. I'm really excited for you. I'm glad that that's what you're doing. What's going on with Holly Bass 360? Tap tap. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, who's next? That's what I'm talking about. So who's what's going on with Holly Bass 360?
So the artistic projects are still happening. I actually closed the official S Corp last year, or like, you know, in December. In December, I closed the S Corp. And so now I'm just sort of like, just Holly Bass. I have some exciting things that I can't talk about yet.
Can I know in private? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe in private.
Maybe in private. Maybe. Yeah. Don't get no, because I'll get too excited. I might tell somebody. Don't.
Right.
I'm not the right person.
I know some things I'm waiting on, but
Mhm.
I know we are going to keep developing the transatlantic time traveling company, which is a
Mm.
play that I did about a mysterious illness, um, where people have to go from the future back to the past to try to stop this disease that is infecting the culture. So I know, right? Prescient, don't even realize it. I wrote
Girl.
this like, I wrote this like 3 years ago. So I'm going to be working with Theater Alliance on that. I'm excited about that.
With who?
Theater Alliance.
Oh, okay. Are they
Yeah.
they are they who produced it the first time at the
Yes.
Anti-Prison? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at the Playhouse, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a
You need a
little
bigger venue.
grant. And well, I just, you develop things and then hopefully you tour them. And some outdoor version of it will happen in New York in like May of 2022
Nice.
next year. So
Do you
yeah,
need producers?
always need producers.
I'm getting into my producer bag.
Okay.
I'm get- I'm getting into my producer bag, fam.
I like it. I like
I'm for
it.
real. Seriously.
Okay.
Well, I thought you got rid of the wagon.
We did, but we'll just have to build another one. You know what I mean? It was just like one of those things. Like we kept it for a while and nobody could really
In the play,
central
the
set
wag there was a set piece. There was this huge, it was big,
covered
pretty
wax.
elaborate, covered wagon. Um, I remember these things. I remember all the random stuff like disco
Yeah.
balls and covered wagons. It's
Right.
my life. So this actually leads me to a question that Deborah, you remember Deborah Zavos?
Yeah. Mhm.
She asked me to ask you to share one of your, I feel like it was probably this play, but she wants me to ask you to share one of your most prophetic dreams.
Oh.
I personally put it out there like this. You can't ask me to tell because I'm gonna say it's too much information. Y'all ain't supposed to have access to my dreams. I promised I would ask. So you can say none of your business or you can give us like a kiki.
I mean, well, it just popped into my head, but like
Mhm,
I feel like I saw a vision. I don't know if this is a prophetic dream, a vision, but
mhm,
I've got that series of photographs where I'm wearing the basketball kind of booty and jumping in
mhm,
the air. And I feel like I saw it like maybe larger than life in
mhm.
like a major art fair. And that hasn't happened yet, but I feel like I saw it. I don't know if that's what she means by a prophetic dream. That
But
could
you
go so many ways.
so then I guess so we should be looking out to see you in this like major installation.
Yeah.
Because you've taken that to an installation. It just
Yeah,
wasn't,
it
it was a
wasn't
group show.
big. Yeah,
Mhm,
it was a group show, and the print was like a modest size, but
mhm.
something I saw in my mind was like this huge, beautiful version of it.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking, like 2023, 2022, 2022? How long does it normally take before your dreams turn into realities?
Like 7 to 10 years. It takes so
Really?
long. Yeah, yeah, like most of the stuff people see that
Mhm.
I've produced publicly, like the germ of it started 7 or 8 years earlier, to be honest.
That's interesting. I feel like I would assume that you were, because of the way people contact you or call you out, or need you, for lack of a better phrase, that you were kind of just turning stuff out.
Yes, and, but, like, it starts, like, if you think, like, okay, I did the 12-hour dance in New York at New York Live Arts,
Hmm.
but I did, like, the 5-hour dance in DC at the Corcoran,
Hmm.
actually at the, Capitol Skyline Hotel. Like, the time from, like, the
Oh,
first.
that was in that lifted box.
Yeah, the
Mhm,
Corcoran was, like, you had to walk under the box to get into the museum.
mhm.
So, and I did like, Transformer Gallery. Like there's all these smaller versions before you get to the full manifestation, I feel like.
Have you cataloged them in that way to show like the evolution of these projects chronologically? Like from the very first time you've done it to this like have you done that?
I haven't put it in that order, but I did get to digitize my old archive, which was super exciting. So it's like all in a little tiny, like 4 terabyte flat, like this whole bag of like VHS tapes and like high 8 tapes and
Yeah.
things that don't exist anymore that no one knows
I was
exist.
going to say that, but I stopped myself. Okay.
Yeah. Old DVDs. And so we
Yeah.
put all of it, but I'm like, okay, I'm glad it's all on a disc and I'll keep, updating it. But I haven't gone through all that material.
Oh, I would love to see that. I'm just putting that out there. You don't got to do it immediately, but I'm just saying, I think it would be really cool to
Yeah.
see whichever process it is. I'm sure you have multiple ones, but from the first,
That's a great idea.
the germ,
Right.
over the course of the 10 years until you feel like it's, oh, I've created this thing and here it is and how it lives.
Yeah.
Mel said your professional stuff takes 5 to 10 years, but you manifest personal stuff in 5 to 10 minutes. So what's the tea? Can we get the formula? 5 to 10 minute manifestation? What's that?
I don't know. It's just I think it's a belief that
Mhm.
you express something and then it arrives.
Oh, I want a Holly Bass Mojo bag.
Okay, I got you. I still got
You should
you.
sell those. No, you shouldn't. But I want one.
You
You
got
shouldn't.
one.
We're not gonna mass produce those, but I would love one of those.
Yeah.
I can't remember the first time I saw that you were doing them or that you did them for a special for.
Yeah, this was
Do
recent.
y'all know what a Mojo bag is? I don't know if everybody knows what a Mojo bag is, but it's like a protection piece and most people consider it to be like a protection piece or a prayer bag. You can put like a wish or a prayer. Actually, the first time I was ever introduced to one, I saw someone making them and they had like, they're about this big. It was about this big, but they had, sacrificed the whole whatever, animal to get that much of the leather for it. But then they used the entire animal. I don't want to make it seem like they just wasted this animal. No. They fed the entire city the entire community off of this animal that they sacrificed. But they took that and they put an elder wrote a prayer specifically for a person, and then they put it inside of the bag and they turned it into a piece of jewelry, and that prayer of protection was worn and carried and meant to help the person. I've also seen people who do like who are like herbalists who believe in certain herbs, the scent bringing, offering different vibes or offering, different healing. And so they can make the mojo bags with herbs. I know some people who are crystal heavy, stone heavy, mineral heavy. I actually know a sister. I felt really bad for her. She was having issues. She was having health issues, and someone made her kind of like a mojo style bag thing that had like crushed hematite in it.
Okay.
But hematite, and this is the second time someone that I ran into someone that did this. Hematite used to be used to slow blood flow. So like if you were bleeding out, they could take hematite from the ground and put it on you or whatever, and it would keep you from it would slow the blood flow. It would keep you from bleeding out. So if you are someone who has like headaches or like, like the migraines where the blood flow is restricted, or you have blood flow issues, you can't wear hematite. But she had this bag on her chest. I was just like, y'all got to read.
Yeah.
You got to read. Don't just fall into stuff because it sounds cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to read.
Yeah.
Be careful. I want one because I trust you and I know that you're not going to give me anything that's going to harm me.
Also, mine is meant to be biodegradable. Mine is like cotton tobacco cloth, like a little copper wire. It's not like a leather durable. I mean, you could keep it safe, but you could also it could disintegrate. That was sort of my intention. It's like,
why?
For the moment. Yeah.
Why was it because of the style? Because you said wishes, not prayers. I did remember reading that.
It was very much about wishes. I just felt like people needed a little magic. Like I needed a little magic, and I thought other people might need a little magic. So it was meant to be like a temporary magic.
Yeah. I might make some mojo bags for my homies. Seems like the season is everybody's doing so well. It's such a wonderful season, but there's also like this very real everything's amazing, and then oh my god, this one thing is happening and it is tearing me apart. You just inspired me again. Um, Lisa says Holly Bass taught me to freeze flowers and ice cubes at one of her diva brunches on 16th Street back in the day, raising a glass to the eternal fly sis. Always. I think that's going to take us out.
I think so.
Holly,
Oh, can I wait? Can I just do one last thing? Speaking of that, real quick.
please, please.
So, my most recent cocktail adventure, I took lychee and I froze them in individual cubes with the syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And then I created a drink. I'm going to share the recipe with you right now. This is the note we're going to end on.
Wait, hold on. Let me type it in.
Write it down. I'll send it to you.
Okay,
I'll make
all
you
right.
one. Anyway, it's called the Summer 75. So it's like a French 75. So you take the ice cube with the lychee, you pour a little gin on top of that, and then you get some sparkling rosé, preferably by the McBride sisters, because Black woman owned. And then you take your lemon twist. You like take the peel and twist your lemon, get that like little spritz and drop it in there. And then as the lychee melts into the gin, you get like these layers of flavor. It's delicious and refreshing.
That sounds amazing. I made a drink the other day. It was champagne and I had put some grapefruit juice in it.
That's good too.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. That's exactly what I drank. But I want to get into your kitchen and do things the way that you do that. And when I grow up, you saw my post. I said, when I grow up and I get my shit together, I'm trying to be like Holly Bass. And I'm like almost there. My shit is like 78% together. So I'm coming. I'm coming. We finna be. I'm about to be freezing flowers and ice cubes and all of that. You know what I mean? Get me to the level. No, I'm just playing. I really love you so much. I appreciate, and one of the reasons why I decided to do Tribe Talking is because I do have a very stellar network of people who have loved on me and taken very good care of me throughout my life, throughout my time, and also who I just think are fucking stellar human beings who are contributing to the landscape that we all exist in. I would have been disrespectful not to invite you here. One of the things I want to say is that Tribe Fest, I decided I was going to host a festival, right? I call Holly. Holly puts a team together. She got Mel on the line. She got she sits me down. She's like, all right, we're going to go through all this stuff you talking about you trying to do with this little bit of money you got. And, you flexed that for me. You really took it, put it on its head and made sure that what I was offering to the community was something that was useful. And I will say in the last year, there was like a little snafu because of just, I accepted promises from people that I didn't properly vet, which does not happen anymore. Ask anybody, I'll be vetting them. I vet now. But we served. And I would say people made money. They didn't have to split profits or share money. I was able to put people in positions to get their stuff off, meet new people, train, do workshops and trainings. And we ended up in the 3 years or 2 years and a one-off that we ran the convening, which you politely told me, girl, this is not a festival, it's a convening. We served over 600 people.
Amazing.
Individual artists and creatives. And I know if I had entered it with I can do whatever I say I can do, because I said I could do it attitude, like I always have, and I'm not going to really lose it. If I had just entered it with that without your help, we wouldn't have done it. We wouldn't have done it. So I'm grateful for that. And I want to say thank you. I also want to say how you say thank you for continuing to lead us. I would consider us peers. I'm not saying this to you as someone who's like, when I say that I want to be like Holly Bass, it's more, I'm not saying like I want to be Holly Bass. I'm saying that there is an there is a level of professionalism. There are levels to this shit, right? Tiers to this. And where I consider you to be, I'm gonna say 8 because I feel like you got like a lot left in you. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you got a lot left in you. Like you're gonna do some stuff that's gonna be like she's still out here banging things out. So I'm gonna say 8. That I would say I'm at a 6.5, right?
Okay.
And I'm proud of that. But I recognize you put me in rooms. You put me in rooms where the people in those spaces knew because I knew you and because you trusted me enough to bring me into those rooms that they needed to elevate me to. So I'm grateful for you. I'm proud of everything that you're going to do. I think I bless God and the divine for continuing to carry you and to give you the wisdom to sit down and to take breaks and to take care of yourself and to feed into yourself and to surround yourself with people who are going to feed you. I appreciate that you're wise enough to be quiet and that when you speak, you are speaking to be heard. And I hope that that never leaves you. Okay? So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your wisdoms with the folks. Um, I'm gonna if y'all wanna y'all should follow Holly. She's Holly Bass 360 on Instagram. She's tagged all over my page for the last couple of days. So just click, 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 and go. Um, she's legit. Y'all know that. Y'all heard her talking. So I love you, sis. Thank you for being my sister. Thank you for being part of my tribe. And y'all have a good night.
Always.
Always.
Good night.
Good night, my babies. Bye. We shutting it down.